Welcome to this episode where we dive into how language shapes our emotional responses and influences our thinking.
Yes, it's fascinating. Language does so much more than just convey facts, right?
Exactly. It's like language is a subtle tool that can evoke emotions, direct opinion, and even steer our
Mm-hmm.
decision making. And this whole concept, it's all laid out pretty clearly in our content today.
Right. So, one key idea is that a speaker's choice of words really matters. Changing a few words can shift the whole emotional impact.
Absolutely. For instance, when a speaker uses emotive language, words that generate excitement or anxiety, they can really set the
Yep.
mood for the listener. It's like if someone talks about being thrilled about an event, you naturally feel that thrill too.
And then you have the flip side. If they use language that highlights uncertainty or fear, then you might feel anxious. Is that right?
Precisely. It's like when a speaker emphasizes nervousness with phrases such as, I'm really, really unsure, it triggers a similar
Mm-hmm.
response in the listener. It shows just how contagious emotions can be through language.
So, would you say this awareness of language tools is crucial for staying objective? Or does it sometimes risk numbing us to genuine emotion?
That's an interesting point indeed. Being aware of these language influences means we can, take a step back and critically assess what we're hearing. But there's
Right.
a subtle balance here. We must engage emotionally, but also think logically about the content.
Right. It's a bit of a dance, isn't it? Feeling the emotion, but not letting it override rational thought.
Exactly. Is like being handed a beautifully wrapped package that might contain misleading information. You appreciate the wrapping, i.e., the emotional cues, but you need to inspect the gift closely
Mm-hmm.
before accepting it.
I see that. And the content outlines some specific language tools too, correct? How speakers can lean on techniques like hyperbole, selective facts, or even compliments to steer opinions.
Yes, absolutely. They even give a neat table detailing how different communication goals, like sharing information versus expressing feelings, come with their own set of language tools. It's like um, each tool is designed for a specific effect.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
example, when a speaker wants to share an opinion, they might use phrasing that suggests certainty even when it's not fully justified.
That's really interesting and a bit concerning because it means we could be unconsciously swayed by selective data or over the top expressions.
Exactly. And when you consider someone then mirrors those emotions, you begin to see a clear pathway for manipulation. It's crucial to recognize these tactics so that we can maintain our own independent assessments rather than, say, just mimicking the speaker's intended emotion.
Mm-hmm. But don't you think that sometimes, yes, language influences are just a natural part of human interaction and um, it's not always about manipulation?
For sure, it's not always negative. Language is what makes our conversations rich and engaging, but the
Right?
issue arises when it's used excessively or selectively to mask truths or to promote biased ideas.
True. And it's so relevant in today's media landscape where um, many speakers might prioritize emotional resonance over clarity or evidence.
Exactly, which is why this step emphasizes self awareness. If you're aware of how language influences emotions, you can better guard against falling into traps of, say, hyperbolic rhetoric or
Mm-hmm.
selective facts. It's like having a filter, right?
Absolutely. And what about those reflective questions mentioned in our material? They really push us to think, like how does language shift our feelings in real life?
Yes, the questions like how can changes in language affect how you feel about something really force you to reflect on personal experiences. It makes you consider, have I ever felt more excited or anxious just because of the
Right?
way something was said?
And it's also a call to be cautious, since without awareness, we might simply mirror the emotions presented to us without critical thought.
Precisely. And that's why, in a classroom or any learning environment, teaching people to identify these language cues is so important. It empowers you to remain detached enough to analyze information objectively.
Yeah. I appreciate that analogy of thinking of language as a toolkit. It helps us understand that these are mechanisms, not magic spells. You can choose to embrace or resist their influence.
Right? It's like realizing that you have control over your own emotional response. Rather than automatically absorbing every cue, you take a moment to assess and decide, and that decision process is key to critical thinking.
Exactly. And it really goes back to being both emotionally aware yet critically detached. Kind of like hearing music that stirs up feelings, but still analyzing the lyrics for deeper meaning, right?
Yes, that's a solid analogy. And just to add, the material even suggests that teachers could use model examples or practical exercises to make learners more aware of these language influences.
Yep, sounds practical. One potential critique I have, though, is that in real world scenarios, it might be challenging to remain fully detached when emotions are involved. How realistic is that expectation?
That's a fair critique. I mean, it's not easy. It takes practice and steady self-reflection, but the goal is to incrementally build that awareness so that you can over time learn to recognize when you're
Right?
being swayed.
So it's sort of a developmental process, becoming more skilled at noticing these subtle cues over time.
Exactly. And that self-awareness isn't just beneficial for individual learning. It also fosters more responsible communication and ultimately stronger critical thinking skills in
hmm
society.
I like how this content not only explains the mechanics, but also stresses the importance of personal control and awareness.
Absolutely. It's a call to be mindful listeners so that we can enjoy the richness of language while safeguarding our own thoughts and
Right
emotions.
on. And in doing so, we maintain a healthy balance between empathy and critical reasoning, which is essential in our interconnected world.
Right? It's like having both an emotional compass and a rational map, guiding you through the terrain of persuasive communication.
Exactly. Well, this discussion has really illuminated the significance of being alert to the language we encounter every day.
For sure, remember, it's not just what is said, it's how it's said, and understanding that can truly empower us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks for this engaging conversation.